We are about to be halfway through the Drasil universe saga. Chapter 6 picks up the day following the end of Chapter 5. Both groups are now separated and are traveling in groups of 4. One thing made clear early is that Team X, Chris, Daroun, Anna and Brandy, work together well as a unit, and they quickly move ahead of Tanya and company, Tanya, Angela, Gabriel, and Daniel, en route to the Ancient Zone. Team X approaches the entrance to the Ancient Zone, which is guarded by a gatekeeper. After Brandy and Daroun get turned into stone, Chris and Anna tell the gatekeeper why they are there at his request. The gatekeeper returns Brandy and Daroun to their normal state, and grants the team access to the Ancient Zone. Soon after, Team X meets up with Uriah and wait to begin their elemental training. Gabriel arrives but without the rest of his team. He admits to leaving them behind, and not long after Tanya, Angela, and Daniel arrive in the Ancient Zone, Darren appears and informs them that each of the original 8 will learn their element individually. In the plot points section, one will break down and describe each element in order in which character was trained to learn it. Before we move into the plot points section, one need to make a correction in regards to the previous chapter's breakdown. Time in the Drasil universe passes by differently than time in the normal and Andiron universes. Every 24 hours, or 1 day, that passes by in the Drasil universe, is 1 minute in the normal and Andiron universes. That means since the end of Chapter 4, outside of the main text, Uriah trained the original 8 to fight. That was a week in time because physical training took place in the normal universe. Chapters 5 and 6 takes place in 72 hours, or 3 days, in the normal and Andiron universes. This means that only 3 minutes have passed in the normal universe since the original 8's arrival in the Drasil universe. First plot point: the Drasil universe. 2 new zones are visited here: the Jungle Zone and the Ancient Zone. The Jungle Zone is the wild area of the Drasil universe. It promotes thoughts of ambition, which makes it an ideal training area for beginners. The Ancient Zone is important because its effect is element-based. It manifests elemental abilities and enhances the ability to learn them. During each elemental training session, other zones are visited in order to properly awaken each of the original 8's abilities properly. Since I clarified how time works in the Drasil universe, there is nothing more about this universe to say for now. Second plot point: electricity. Before we get started, this is not one of the traditional 7 elements, but can be used as an ability. Gabriel requests it because in Chapter 1 Chris uses an electrical weapon on him. Darren grants his request, making him immune to electricity. Electricity can be generated by the user's physical or elemental energy. Electricity is represented by a static aura surrounding the user's body. When large amounts of elemental energy can be gathered, massive energy blasts powered by electricity can be fired. Gabriel can also generate electricity from within his body, which means when his abilities are in use, making physical contact with him could result in electric shock. Third plot point: water. Daniel is assigned this element by Darren and Uriah. Users can create, shape, and manipulate water, inorganic compounds with liquid, gas, steam, water vapor, and solid, ice, states, including changing them from one state to another. This involves water itself, ice in any form, sweat, blood, steam, water pressure, and other variations. More skilled and powerful users can use water-related weather such as blizzards and rainstorms, and some are able to completely control the temperature of the water at will. Users of the water element usually have a blue-colored aura surrounding them. Fourth plot point: metal. Tanya is trained to learn the metal element. Users can create, shape and manipulate metal, a solid material, an element, compound, or alloy that is typically hard, shiny, and features good electrical and thermal conductivity. Metals are generally malleable. They can be hammered or pressed permanently out of shape without breaking or cracking, and able to fuse or melt. Metal users can have a colored aura surrounding their body. Tanya has a pink-colored aura. Fifth plot point: wood. Angela's assigned element. Users can create, shape and manipulate wood plants, including trees, shrubs and lianas. They can cause wood to grow, move, attack, or even rise from the soil and to be launched. Mutate wood by rearranging in a structure, revive withered or dead wood, or manipulate the dead wood as well as the living wood. Wood users generally emit a brown-colored aura that surrounds their body. Sixth plot point: darkness. Chris is assigned this element after Darren and Uriah train Tanya and company. Users can create, shape and manipulate darkness and shadows. Darkness is mostly used to cloud everything into total darkness, but can also be channeled to a variety of effects. Both as an absence of light and a solid substance, one can also control and manipulate the beings that exist there, create and dispel shields in areas of total darkness, create constructs such as equipment or entities, teleport oneself through massive distances via shadows. The shadows are sometimes represented as purple or black. In addition to these abilities, Darkness users also have the ability to see in complete darkness. Chris' aura surrounding his body is purple colored. 7th plot point. Fire. Brandy is taught this element. Users can freely generate, shape, and manipulate fire. The rapid oxidation of a material in the exothermic chemical process of combustion, releasing heat, light, and various reaction products, flame being the visible portion of the fire. Depending on the substances alight, and any impurities outside, the color of the flame and the fire's intensity will be different. The user can also completely control the temperature of the fire at will. Although any user is capable of these abilities described, at beginner's level, control over the flame's movement and effects may be limited. Brandis' aura is orange-colored. 8th plot point. Earth. Duran's elemental ability. Offensive uses of this abilities include extracting huge boulders from the ground and hurling it at the enemy at high speeds, impaling the enemy with countless spikes from the earth, and in some cases creating giant golems or other creatures from earth and utilize them for combat. Defensive abilities include shaping huge walls or barriers from the ground, creating an omnidirectional wave of rocks, stone around the user to defend from all attacks, and covering oneself with armor made from earth. In addition, users of earth elemental energy can use that to strengthen their body. Earth users normally have a green-colored aura surrounding their body. 9th plot point. Wind. The ability taught to Anna. Since wind cannot be seen by conventional methods, neither can the attacks and derivatives formed from it, making it an invisible and versatile weapon that is very difficult to block and dodge. Since wind is the originator for most natural disasters and all forms of weather, the user has control over nature's most dangerous element, allowing them to perform a wide variety of feats, including wind, in atmospheric pressure, and also includes breezes, squalls, gusts, whirlwinds, zephyrs, gales, tempests, and hurricanes. With enough wind energy, the user may be able to float in the air. Wind users' aura normally appear in a gray or silver color. 10th plot point. Going forward, the two teams are now permanently separated. From here, Darren and Uriah will no longer involve themselves in the challenge to find the Looking Glass. The original 8 are no longer allowed access to the Ancient Zone. In addition, they are now responsible for training their elemental abilities. This will occur outside of the main text prior to any future fights remaining this saga. Gabriel, Daniel, and Angela once again meet to discuss their plan to get back at Chris. Gabriel likes Daniel's idea to use Tanya to get to Chris. From here, the three of them agree with using Tanya to carry out their plan. Chapter 7 focuses on Tanya and company as a whole, and the results of Gabriel, Angela, and Daniel's plan. Before the chapter ends, Chris reveals to Anna that he used to be in the same group as Tanya briefly. The search for the Looking Glass officially starts from here on. 11th plot point. Another flashback. Chapter 6 ends with another flashback. Following Chris and Anna's conversation, Duran once again urges Chris to bury his past with Tanya. Chris flashes back to the last day of school the previous school year. He is talking to Brandy about his plans for the summer. The two are interrupted by Tanya and Angela. This confirms that Tanya and Brandy indeed have crossed paths before the Genesis Saga. This was implied by Brandy back in Chapter 1. This flashback also reveals why Tanya seemingly detested Chris back in the Genesis Saga. After Tanya leaves, Chris and Brandy share a moment. When we return to the present day, Chris vows that he will use Tanya's disdain for him to become the greatest fighter in the universes and prove that her opinion of him is wrong. Chapter 7 is called Inner Conflict. Things are about to heat up in the Drasil universe, so stay tuned.